My life took such a turn that even today a part of it still lives somewhere deep inside me. I grew up in this very house, the same simple old house whose damp walls almost felt like they breathed. In childhood, I played within those walls with my brothers and sisters, heard my mother's voice echoing through the rooms, and endured my father's stern scoldings. I was the youngest among all my brothers, so everyone treated me like a child. The same child who always spoke last and mattered the least, yet was emotionally tied to every corner of that home. Time passed. My sisters got married and left for their own homes. Then my brothers married too, and slowly one by one they also moved out. Eventually, the only ones left in that house were me, my wife Sakina, and our children. Sakina was a soft-hearted and steady woman. She always took care of my parents, and even after they passed away, she kept the house exactly the way they had left it, as if their presence still lingered in the air. Our house was big, but on one side a large space always remained empty. Since childhood, I had imagined that a room should be built there. A proper, clean, separate room. I once talked to my father about it, but he had said there was no need. After my father passed away, that desire quietly rose again. When both my mother and father died in 2010, the house grew even more silent. Every creak, every sound, every breath of the house began settling deep into my chest. During those days, I found myself repeatedly thinking about building that room in the empty space. Sakina said, "The children aren't married yet. The house is big enough. We don't need it." But inside me, a strange stubbornness had taken hold. I explained to her, "It will be useful for guests. The children can sleep separately too." Eventually she agreed. I brought the materials, girders, bricks, cement, wood, and then called the masons. Every morning they arrived, filling the house with the soft thuds of construction. The hammering of the workers, the rustling of sand, the breaths of the laborers lifting bricks. Everything gave me an odd sense of satisfaction, as if after years I was finally building something in my life. Took 15 full days. Then the room was ready. The walls were painted, the lights were installed, new switchboards were fixed. A nice carpet was laid inside. A faint earthy smell lingered in the room, the kind that new buildings always have. In the beginning we kept the room empty. Only cleaning was done, and at night we locked it. After a few days, the children began insisting they wanted to sleep in the new room. Sakina said, "All right," and laid out their bedding during the day. That night after dinner, the children happily went into the new room. I looked at their faces. They saw the new room as if it were some adventure. The next morning, my eldest son asked, "Abu, why did you come near the room last night?" I was surprised. I didn't go there at all. He said he heard footsteps outside the window, like someone was walking there. I told him, "Maybe a dog passed by, or maybe you misunderstood." But somewhere deep inside, a faint shadow settled. The next day everything seemed normal. Night fell again after dinner, and we went to our rooms to sleep. That night too, the children insisted on sleeping in the new room. I was tired myself. The night was unusually deep, and the wind felt strange, as if someone were dragging their fingers slowly along the edges of the walls. Around 1:30 a.m. my eyes suddenly opened. I don't know why. It felt as if my heart had pushed me awake. In that silence I heard the children screaming. Not loud screams, but muffled, trembling cries, filled with panic, echoing through the courtyard of the house. Sakina and I immediately jumped up. We opened the door, and all three children came running toward us, straight into our arms. Their bodies were shaking violently. Their breaths were out of control. We held them, gave them water, tried again and again to ask what had happened. But they couldn't speak. After half an hour, when they calmed a little, my eldest son whispered in a shaky voice that a strange sound had come from near the window, as if someone were speaking very slowly. Then something happened near the door too. "We saw nothing," he said, "but the sounds were there, like someone whispering on purpose, trying to scare us." Terrified, they had run out. I told them it might have been their imagination, but the fear on their faces was not the kind born from imagination. That same night, I woke up again and went near the new room. Fear was already crawling through my chest. I slowly opened the door. The bulb was still on inside. The room was silent. Just the smell of fresh cement and nothing else. I stood there for almost 10 minutes. No sound. No movement. I went outside near the window, but there was nothing there either. I went back, but a cold wave had already settled inside me. as if someone had reached into my chest and stirred something deep. The next morning, when everyone came for breakfast, I noticed my daughter didn't come. At first I thought she was sleeping. I called out, no answer. I went to the room. She was sitting on the bed. Her face was blank, empty, and her eyes were fixed on something invisible, something distant. I asked her what happened, but she didn't reply. There was a strange shine in her eyes. Not anger, but as if she was looking into another world. As if something was trapped inside her. I brought her outside. She wasn't recognizing anyone nor responding. We took her to a doctor. The doctor said, "This seems like a psychological issue. You should take her to a religious scholar." A cold slide of fear ran down my heart when I heard that. I asked relatives for advice. Many gave suggestions. Finally, someone told me about an elderly scholar in a nearby city who dealt with such matters. The next day I took my daughter there by taxi. There was already a crowd waiting. Eventually our turn came. I explained everything. He placed his hand on her head and kept reciting. Then he gave her a talisman and some blessed water. He said only one thing. Never allow the children near that room again. There was a heavy weight in his words. I could feel it inside me. We returned home and I gave my daughter the blessed water. Days passed and she slowly began to recover. The day she recognized me again, my eyes filled with tears. Months passed. Everything returned to normal. But inside my heart, one question still remained. That new room I had built with such excitement. What was inside it? After that night, the peace I had lost for so long never returned. Instead, a permanent nest of uneasiness formed within me. Even after my daughter recovered, that room clung to my mind like a stubborn stain, something I could neither remove nor ignore. Every night when the house fell silent, my eyes were pulled toward that room, involuntarily. I tried many times to convince myself that it was all an accident. The children's imagination, a frightening dream, a misunderstanding. But whenever I sat on the bed inside that room at night, breathing in that faint scent of new cement, even that excuse would fade away. Every normal thing in the room had started to feel different, as if carrying secret meanings. A tiny nail lying on the floor looked like a mark carved intentionally. A fallen leaf beneath the window felt like a whisper. And the softness of the carpet no longer felt comforting. It felt like a resistance under my feet. Many nights, I would wake up and quietly walk around the room, running my hand along the walls, searching for any sign of dampness or cold, anything that could explain what was happening, anything that proved I wasn't losing my mind. One night, I decided I would sleep in that room myself. I needed to know whether the fear was real or only in my head. Sakina refused. The children looked at me with fear in their eyes. But I insisted. It's better to face the problem than to hide it. That night, I slowly opened the window. The moon outside looked incomplete, pale in the drifting wind. I took a deep breath and told myself, close your eyes and try to sleep. But instead of sleep, something else happened. A soft yet threatening whisper brushed against my ears. Someone murmured my name, slowly, faintly. I felt as if someone was standing very, very close to me. My heart began pounding. Sweat broke over my skin. And then the footsteps. The same footsteps the children had heard. Now clear, distinct, and dangerously close. But they didn't sound like footsteps on the floor. They sounded as if someone was walking on soft skin, or as if the steps were coming from inside the walls. I slowly turned toward the window. Outside everything looked normal. The narrow lane, a small bush, the distant water tank standing silent. But then I saw it. A shadow behind the window's glass. My legs trembled. I moved my hand and gently opened the window a little. A slow wind entered, carrying a scent I had never smelled before. A scent that didn't belong to this world. I turned back, and at that moment, the sight that had been waiting for me finally stood in front of my eyes. A tall figure, unnaturally tall, wrapped in white clothes. Its feet were reversed. It floated in the air exactly outside the window frame. Its height did not match human proportions. Its face was a distorted map of features. Eyes hollow like deep sockets, lips thin, stretched oddly, and behind those lips, something like a stolen smile lurked as if it didn't belong to it at all. I held my breath, and suddenly, that floating presence turned and glided inside the room. I spun around and found it standing right in front of me, so close that I could feel the dampness of its presence on my skin. but its clothing wasn't dark. It was white. So white that from a distance it looked like light itself. But up close, it felt as if the light was being swallowed into it. The sight was so unnatural that even my mind trembled. I ran. Without looking back, I ran inside the house toward my room. The faster I ran, the drier and hotter my body felt, as if fever was chasing me. I washed my face quickly, tried to drink water, but my lips tasted like metal, like iron. My ears began to pound, and a strange exhaustion settled into me, as if someone had poured a lifetime of labor into my bones overnight. The next morning, a burning fever took over me. My skin turned red, breath shaky, I could barely walk. Sakina wiped the sweat from my forehead. The children looked at me with fear in their eyes. I told myself this must be a physical illness. Inside, another terror lived. That human-like creature would not leave my mind. Within a few days the fever eased. But something else began. My senses became unnaturally sharp. Even the smallest sound felt overwhelming. And late at night, when the house grew cold and perfectly silent, a faint rustling sound would drift from somewhere far away. A rustling that didn't speak, but carried meaning, like an unwanted invitation. I thought again about the elderly scholar, the one who had helped my daughter. Sakina tried to stop me again and again, but after witnessing my own weakness, I realized this wasn't something I could handle alone. So I went to the scholar. For the first time there was tiredness in his voice, a slight hesitation. He told me he would come, but asked me to describe the condition of the house. I told him everything. He listened quietly, said something under his breath, and finally promised he would visit soon. I waited, but with each passing night my sleep grew thinner. Meanwhile, some people from the neighborhood came to see us, people who knew the old stories of this village. One elderly man told me in a low voice that long ago, another house existed in this very place. It had been abandoned years ago. Some said the land had been extended and divided improperly, that this soil once belonged to a Naki place, a site where unseen beings, jinn or other creatures, were known to pass through. I had always dismissed such stories with a laugh, but now, standing on this very ground, feeling its buried secrets in my bones, my laugh had gone cold. Days passed. The scholar still did not come. One night, when my restlessness reached its peak, I opened the room myself. I sat at its edge and recited a few verses from the Quran. I called upon Allah with a loud, steady voice. But the moment I raised my voice, the whisper returned. It came from near the window again, but this time spoke my name, not as a whisper, but as a low, growling call. I shut my eyes, lifted my hands, and recited louder. My voice trembled, and in that exact moment, the presence appeared in front of me, turned toward me, and for the first time, I saw inside its mouth, torn, shredded. Inside its mouth, the sounds were tangled, as if thousands of voices were exploding at once. I tried to run, but my feet felt nailed to the ground. I screamed, a scream so loud it shook the walls, and the entire house woke up. Sakina, the children, everyone rushed out with terror in their eyes. I stumbled toward the bed and clutched my arms tightly, as if holding myself would keep that presence from entering me again. Sakina held my face in her hands. She asked if she should call a doctor. But I said, "This is not a doctor's matter. This is spiritual. I need the scholar." That very morning, I caught a taxi and headed to the nearby city to meet the scholar. But inside me, a strange hesitation stirred. The man whose hand had once healed my daughter. Could he really stand strong enough against what I had seen? A new fear troubled me. Would his words be enough? Was this entity tied only to the land? Or had someone deliberately called it here? When I reached the scholar, his face was serious. He listened quietly as I told him about the house, my fever, everything. Then he stared at me for a long moment and said he would come, but first we needed to prepare the house. He asked for cleaning of certain spots, and for salt, kalonji, and water to be arranged. A few days later he came to our home himself. When he stepped inside, I saw a small drum-shaped amulet in his hand. His voice held the same steadiness as before, a firmness mixed with calm. Inside the room, his movements carried both analysis and respect. He examined the room from all sides. He bent near the window, touched the markings on the ground, then released words into the air through deep recitation. Listening to him, it felt as if the room itself had begun to breathe. The entire atmosphere shifted. For the first time, I felt that maybe none of this was impossible. Maybe it could be undone with understanding. He told me, "The place where you built this room, a passage was created there. Kind of closed corridor beneath the earth, used by jinn and certain creatures to travel. When humans build over such paths carelessly," he said, "the route is blocked, like building a wall in the middle of a road. Those who pass through it become angry." He explained that when these beings are disturbed, they leave signs. First, footsteps. Second, emptiness in the eyes. Third, fever in the night, unnatural cold or heat. Fourth, disturbance in children's sleep. Hearing this, my heart grew heavy, but I also felt a strange relief. There was finally a name, reason, a method to fight it. The scholar began his recitations. He went through the entire house, corner to corner, reciting specific prayers meant for dawn and dusk. He gave us protective amulets and said the passage must be closed. He instructed us to mark certain signs outside the room, to sprinkle salt and special salty water into the ground, and most importantly, never stay in that room alone at night, and never allow the children near it. I listened to everything he said, and for the first time I felt hope returning. But deep inside, a faint fear still lived. When we sealed that passage, had we closed a door forever? Or had we angered something that was never meant to be stopped? The scholar finally said, "What happened will end, but you must recite daily for a few days, and keep the protective signs in place." I accepted every word he said. We followed all his instructions carefully. That night, for the first time in a long while, I closed my eyes with a sense of real hope. Yet somewhere inside, those shadows still flickered. I knew the battle wasn't truly over, but the presence of the scholar had given me a strength I hadn't felt in years. Within a few days, the house grew peaceful again. The children slept normally. My daughter's eyes returned to their natural calm. Sakina too found her peace. Even now, sometimes I look toward that room and wonder, did we really see what we saw? Or was it a glimpse of another world's reality? But with Allah's help, and through the scholar's guidance, we remained safe. Now when I sit near that room's edge, I feel only silence, and a strange sense of comfort, knowing we took the right steps, and the fear finally ended. Friends, how did you like this story? If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and be sure to like the video.